industry executive in California, Joe Firmage, has changed his life completely after what he believed was an unearthly apparition. He has now set up his International Space Sciences Organization, and he is spending millions to research what life could be like, what he thinks it might be like, beyond our solar system. Joe Firmage has come into our San Francisco studio. Mr. Firmage, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. People are saying that anyone who sacrifices a chief executive officer career like yours and millions of dollars must be crazy. Are you?
Well, it depends on the perspective you come from. I will leave the answer to that question to the history books.
But you've sunk millions of dollars into this. Why? What's the purpose?
Well, the purpose is to help raise the consciousness of people all over the world to pay attention to some things that are more important than what we're going to cook for dinner this evening.
So precisely what is it you're saying? I mean, let's get down to the specifics here.
Let me be clear. What I am basically saying is that the grand sweeping saga of human history does have a direction. It has a point. It has a path and a trajectory. And that trajectory is clearly pointing towards the day, and I think someday in the not-too-distant future, when we will break through the constraint of gravity that holds us to this world. We will be able to voyage one day beyond our solar system and visit other worlds. Why do I reach that conclusion? Well, three reasons. Number one, there's overwhelming evidence from virtually every nation and every culture on Earth throughout the history books and into recent times of unusual phenomena. Many people call it UFOs, or unidentified flying objects, flying around in the skies. There's overwhelmingly consistent and good evidence that that is in fact occurring. Reason number two, there are rigorously peer-reviewed physics papers that are now in print, that have only become in print in the last 5 years or so, that clearly suggest how this could work. And third, the opportunity that I've had, having entered this space, is to meet with some of the most senior military and scientific people in the United States of America who have privately confirmed to me the reality of the UFO phenomenon. Now,
you claim to have had a personal encounter with an otherworldly being. Tell me about that.
I was reading papers which for the first time clearly describe a way to engineer gravity. That's a revolutionary concept. And so one night, after reading one of these papers, I went to sleep, and the next morning I had a rather unusual experience. I referred to it more like a near-death experience than an actual encounter, because the being that I saw in my bedroom was more like an image than a tangible object. But we had a very interesting conversation, and it was quite germane to the subject that I had been studying.
So tell me about the conversation, because you expressed a willingness to die at one stage in the conversation.
Yes, it was sort of halfway between sleep and awake. I had a conversation with this image, and he said, why have you bothered me? He looked perplexed and bothered. Why have you bothered me? And I said, because I want to travel in space. And he chuckled and said, well, why should you have that opportunity? And I said, because I'm willing to die for it. I've studied the domains of astronomy and physics all my life, and so that's always been a deeply hidden passion of mine, a dream, if you will, and so it was an appropriate response.
What do you say to those people who would argue that all you're doing is trying to cash in on the enduring UFO craze?
Sure. Well, look, that's a fair criticism from afar, but if you look at the facts, this has cost me a lot of money, and it's going to cost a lot more money. I haven't made a dime on this venture, and I have no profit motive to speak of. I'm basically simply trying to share 15 years worth of research into a domain which I consider to be the most important domain of study, period, today. I think it's very important that people wake up and consider, just consider, that some advanced civilizations out there in the vast cosmos that we see at night have figured out the answers to the physics questions that we are now just gaining a glimpse of. If they have, then not only is the UFO phenomenon plausible, it is overwhelmingly probable. And any physicist will tell you the same thing.
Because it could also be suggested that you're trying to start a new religion.
Well, it could be suggested, but that would be inaccurate. I am trying to initiate something like a movement to expose people to a broader worldview than what they see every day on television.
You have expressed a willingness to die. Are you not asking others to join you?
Oh, of course not. That's ridiculous. The discussion that I had that one morning, halfway between waking and sleeping, I don't know how to characterize. I didn't claim it was an alien encounter. I've reported it as it happened, as it was. I am not asking people to do anything other than read and consider and study. I think this is something that's fundamentally important, but it would be grossly inaccurate to characterize this as any sort of cult.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for your time.
Goodbye.
We'll be back with more of Today in a moment.